Hello everybody and welcome to the fourth episode of Rockin Realities. Today's guest is guitarist Robby Miller, who recently released his new EP. If you want to check that out, I'll put the links in the description. But for now, enjoy the show. Alright, well, first of all, thank you for taking the time.
No worries. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, so first I'd like to talk a bit about your career before we talk about your EP, if that's fine with you.
Sure, yeah.
So, I think you started pretty early. You joined your father's band when you were 10, is that right?
Yes, yeah, that's right. We all started playing at the same time. So actually, my dad didn't know how to play any instruments before me or anything. We all just started learning music at the same time. And then a family band did get put together. And yeah, we were all playing music.
What kind of music did you play?
It was like traditional Irish folk music. So my dad's a big fan, of the sort of Celtic music scene, and that was the songs and the music he liked. And so it was, for me, it was like, well, this is the only thing I can play along with. So that's how I got into it. So I actually was sort of playing folk music way before an electric guitar came along.
So, and I heard you won a music competition when you were 12. Was that a solo thing or was that with your family band?
That was a solo thing. Actually, the funny thing about that one is a teacher of mine knew that I was playing this sort of acoustic folk music in my dad's band, and there was a competition. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called Acoustic Roots or Folk Roots, or it was something like that. And there was a few of them, different parts around England where, and I guess, I'm from Bedfordshire, and I guess I went in for the Bedfordshire branch or chapter of this competition and played a Bob Dylan song and a couple of other songs. I can't remember what they were, but I did win that thing. Yes, I won.
Good job.
I think when you're 12, though, you instantly get that. I call it the R factor, because everyone looks at you and goes, "Oh." I think I had the cuteness on my side that sort of disappeared off the last couple of years.
How old were the other people then? Were they older?
They were actually quite old. Yeah, I think there's some adults doing it and all kinds of things. I don't know. I really actually, I haven't thought about that whole thing until you just brought it up now in such a long time. So I think maybe I was in the young musicians category or something like that. I can't exactly remember, but I remember there was a big age range going on.
Yeah, and I also saw that you played on a TV show when you were 18.
That's right, I did. Wow, you've really done your research.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I was so I was 18, and there was a morning television show which doesn't exist anymore called GMTV, and I mean that was Good Morning Television, and everyone watched that show. It was on every single morning, and I think it was, I remember I had been speaking to a TV agent in London and sort of just emailing them all the time saying, "Hey, have you got any work for me? Have you got any work? This is what I do." At the time, we'd only send out MySpace profile links because there wasn't a Facebook or anything else. So, "Hey, this is what I do. This is what I do." And then eventually she came back and said, "Okay, there's a singer that was on X Factor, and he needs a band. And do you want to do it?" And at the time, my heart sank because I was like so into heavy metal and rock and roll, and I was like, I don't want to do X Factor. I don't want to back a pop singer. But do you know what? I did it anyways, and you can still find that video on YouTube, and I mimed the whole thing. I didn't play any real guitar, and the drums weren't real either, and the guitar amp is not real.
Well, that's not a good gig for a guitarist then if you can't play.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great gig if you're not a guitarist
Yeah.
because you can just go ahead and do it. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, but do you know what? I still learnt the song. That's my whole thing. Is like, if I'm gonna mime this, I'm gonna mime it really, really well, and I'm gonna learn the song as if I had to play it live, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I am half playing it real.
So, but did this gig at this TV show, did this help your career, or was it just like a side thing that you did once?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it really helped my career, but I guess it was, at the time, when I was 18, which is 12 years ago now, I guess. I guess there was some bragging rights to it of like, oh, look, I was on television, or look, I was on GMTV. I guess there was that kind of thing for it. And I think probably for the next set of emails or the next kind of connections I was trying to do or trying to make, I definitely dropped that of like, this is what I've done. But funnily enough, that doesn't help me that much anymore, that TV show. But I think at the time I definitely used it. Yeah, of course.
It actually wasn't even that easy to find out about the TV show. I think there was like a newspaper article about it found on the internet.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah. Well, good for you because I haven't seen that.
Yeah, but I think that the article said you're a music legend from Bedford. So I called you a music legend. I wanted to tell you that.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh my, that article is false. Bedford's also a small place, so.
Yeah. So what did you do after that TV show thing? Because I know I think you started playing with Ryan in 2012, around that time.
Yeah, that's right.
But like in between that time, what bands did you play in, or what did you do then?
Yes, so I'm just trying to think now. I can't. I mean, I've been in and out of a lot of teenage rock bands over the years. Also, around that time, I went to music college, which is called the ICMP, which stands for the Institute of Contemporary Modern Performance. Because I was like, oh well, I never really liked school, but perhaps I can go to music school or go and sort of just study the guitar for 2 years. So I went and did that. I can't say for sure it helped me a great deal, but it was something to do for a couple of years while I was trying to figure some stuff out. So I definitely got that TV gig then. And then I was in and out of various different covers and function bands in between that. And then before I started playing guitar with Ryan, which was in about 2011 or 2012. So I would have been about 21 or 22 then. Yeah.
So how did you meet Ryan? Like, how did you get the gig with Ryan?
By a lot of persistence and a lot of emailing Ryan. You've probably heard me say in the past, and I said it a few times on that podcast with Ryan a few weeks ago, but he is one of these people that is just so fantastic and inspiring because he does take the time to speak to people and get to know people, and as you know, and he's so good at that. So I first started connecting with Ryan when I was actually 10 years old, because I went to my first Alice Cooper concert when I was 10, which was Ronnie James Dio. So I got to see Dio, and Dio opened for Alice, and it was at Wembley Arena. And that was also the night when Brian May came out and played guitar on Schools Out. So for my first gig, that was pretty good. And I remember just watching the show. I'm a huge Alice fan anyways, but I remember just, really excited to see Alice Cooper. But I remember seeing this guy with blonde dreadlocks and the coolest looking guitars because they were all glitter and sparkly and everything. And I remember thinking, I want to do that. Like, who is this guy? Because he's doing the job that I now know that I want to do. I want to play guitar for people, and I want to do these kind of shows. So I guess it was around that time I found his email address and sent him an email saying, hey, I was at the Alice Cooper show, thanks so much. And he responded. And then and Ryan was great and would always, you know, do his rock and roll parking lot things at, you know, at gigs and on the tours. So I got to meet him quite a few times. And then I'm trying to think about how that first real sort of playing live with Ryan came about. And I think it's he was wanting to do an acoustic tour, like some shows around the UK, and said if I'd be interested in helping him out, set that up, and then backing him on guitar. And of course I jumped at the opportunity. And it was sort of a way to sort of show, hey, like I can learn these songs, I can do this, and hopefully there's more to come. And thankfully more did come along from that. And yeah, so that was kind of, I guess, how that relationship started.
Yeah. Well, yes, well, you're still playing with him, so it worked out.
It did work out, yeah. And Ryan's really great at sort of seeing, you know, when people are really into stuff, and you know, we did a few more bits, you know, over those years, you know, in between Alice gigs and when he was playing with Casablanca. I think we did another UK tour where, you know, me and some other friends, we, you know, were his backing band, and we went and played some more shows then. And a lot of this stuff is also, you know, if you don't ask, you don't get. And I definitely said to Ryan, you know, a few years ago now, like, look, this is what I want to do. I think I'm ready to, you know, to take this gig if you ever have it. And luckily he listened to that. And then along came the Planet X tours, and then other solo Ryan Roxy tours. So yeah, I'm very, very thankful and appreciative of that gig, and still am, because I'm always pestering him. So, okay, when's the next one? When are we doing the next one? So
yeah. you still have to do a Europe tour when you can tour again.
Yeah,
because I always see you touring in the US, like the Planet X tour, or in the UK, but I can't ever see you because you never like do a real Europe tour, just the UK.
I know, and I think everyone wants that. I would love to do some more stuff. We did some stuff in Sweden, obviously, because, you know, Ryan's in Sweden. But of course, I'd like to be doing gigs as well in Germany and, you know, Spain and Ireland, and I'd love to do a full European tour. So, yeah, needs to happen.
Okay, then I also want to talk about when you moved to the US, you had your own radio show.
Yes, I did. Wow, more points. Wow, you're finding all this stuff out. Yeah, I did. I had a radio show because I just decided I want a radio show. I want to play my music. I have always enjoyed listening to radio shows, and it's kind of, I don't know, maybe in a weird way, it's becoming a forgotten about format, like cassettes or CDs and all that kind of stuff. Like, does anyone listen to the radio now, or does everyone just listen to their Spotify playlists? I know I definitely probably listen to more Spotify playlists than tuning into an actual radio. So there was something kind of cool about, hey, I want to try and do this. So we moved to New Hampshire on the East Coast of America, and I reached out, and it was only college radio. It wasn't for a big radio station or anything like that. But I was like, no, I want to have a show here. I want to do all this kind of stuff. And yeah, so they let me jump on board, and I did that for a year. And so that was really, really fun. And I'm glad to say that I've done it. But it was also at times I was just like, oh my God, I haven't made the playlist for this week's show, and sort of scrambling at the last minute. You start off with this stuff really, really organized, and then you're like, oh, I'll do the playlist in a couple of days. And then you push it back another day. And then when you've done it for a year, you're like, oh, I'm so behind on when I should get all this ready. So yeah, maybe I wasn't cut out to be a radio DJ, but it was fun.
You also said when you started that radio show, I saw an interview in which you said that you wanted to do stand-up comedy as well. So did that ever happen?
Aha, yeah. I mean, I find I don't know, maybe I'm like a jack of all trades and master at none, because I really I love just being in entertainment. I really love trying to entertain people. And so, and I like stand-up comedy. So I was like, well, maybe I should try that. I never have tried it. But do you know what? I've got stuff written down where I'm like, part of me's like, one day I'm going to just turn up to an open mic night and try some of this stuff. And if it works, that'll be really cool. And maybe it'll be like the radio show. Maybe it'll be like, oh, well, you know, I've done it now. Okay, I'm okay with that. Or maybe I'll sell all my guitars and just have this microphone and do stand-up comedy.
You should do it.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right.
Or you could do that. You could do a stand-up comedy instead of an opening band for when you go on tour with Ryan. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. You're right. Actually, there is a guy that does. On the Planet Axe tour, there was the guy from That Metal Show, who's a stand-up comedian, and he opened. There was a gig with Faster Pussycat on that show. So it was the Planet Axe night, and Faster Pussycat, and a stand-up comedian actually opened that show. So it can be done.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea.
Okay, well, maybe I'll try it one day.
Okay, so you're also a guitar teacher.
Yep.
How long have you been doing that for?
I've been teaching guitar since I was around 15, about 14 or 15 maybe. I must have been 15, because I was working in a guitar shop, and I would sell a guitar. I was a Saturday boy, so I would just work there on a Saturday, and I would sell a guitar, and they'd pay for it, and then the very next thing they would say to me is, "Do you know any guitar teachers?" And I would say, "No, sorry," even though I played guitar. And that would have happened hundreds of times. And then I guess I just decided, like, well, yeah, I can teach guitar. So I remember saying, like, they were like, "Do you know anyone that can sort of teach me this thing that I just bought?" And I said, "Yeah, I can teach you." And I charged £10 for an hour, okay, which for me, I guess back then was a lot of money, but it was just like pocket money. I just, whatever, it was just some extra, money to spend with my friends or whatever. And then I got kind of serious about it, because I realized actually I really enjoy teaching, and I think those sort of first few times when you really see people learn and play a song back to you that you just taught them is a really big deal. So I really enjoyed it. And then I started charging a little bit more money and a little bit more money. And then, the years went on, and I, obviously took up music, on a serious level, and then decided to start teaching on a serious level. And so I had a guitar school where I used to live in Bedford in the UK that I ran for 3 or 4 years and did a lot of lessons from. And that was in many ways my full-time job. I would start teaching at like 10 in the morning until 5 p.m. at night, just back to back, just all day long. So guitar teaching has always been that thing that I go to do, because I really enjoy it. And yeah, it's, I don't know, the whole guitar thing is like what I figured out. Like, I'm definitely not the best guitarist in the world, but it's the one thing that I know I'm quite good at. And I never, got a school certificate or degree or anything. So if I can teach guitar and show it to others, then that makes me really happy. And it's, a way to earn some money as well.
Yeah, well, as long as it makes you happy, it's what you should do. So it's my opinion.
Definitely. I'm right there with you. And of course, all of this has now ended up in other projects, because now, I'm working on the System 12 project with Ryan, and just the whole idea of like, well, how can we start teaching more people? One-to-one lessons are cool. But how can we take this idea and get it to the masses and teach people that way? So, it's all building,
Yeah. As you mentioned, the System 12 method, maybe you want to explain that for people who are watching this who don't know what it's about yet. So we can promote that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ryan is a great guitar teacher, and obviously found out over the years that I teach guitar as well, and basically said, look, I want to try and put this new methodology together of how to learn the guitar, because I think these days guitar books aren't really a thing. You don't learn from a book anymore.
Yeah.
There was a lot of them, but that doesn't really happen anymore. Obviously, we all have YouTube, but here's a weird thing. I figured this out the other day because the student said to me, well, what YouTube videos did you watch when you were learning guitar? And I was thinking, I actually didn't have YouTube. I'm actually at the age now where I can say I didn't have that, which is a weird thing to think about. Yeah, obviously you can go onto YouTube and you can learn that way, but it's very distracting and you can never really pick one video, and maybe that teacher uploaded 3 really great videos and then never uploaded ever again, and well, now I've got to find another YouTube channel and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. So Ryan had this idea of like, I want to do this guitar methodology, this new way to teach, which I listened to him on, and we talked about it, and it makes total sense, and that is start playing songs as soon as possible. And usually when we start playing guitar, we learn these really complex chords that take all of your fingers, and you're expected on the first lesson to play this horrific like shape with your fingers that you've never ever done before, and you have to then get it to sound good straight away. And that doesn't happen. You get muted strings, it's hard to push down, your fingers are sore, and then we wonder why people give up so quickly. Well, I couldn't get it. I couldn't learn the guitar. Well, it's like, no, you were trying to do something that's pretty difficult on the first lesson. So, Ryan, it starts off with, you do learn a song in the first lesson, and you learn it straight away. You start to learn what the strings are straight away. You start to use maybe just one finger instead of all your fingers. There's loads of things that we've thought about in this course that graduates you on to playing full chords and whatnot. So it's something really, really worth looking into. And yeah, I think just just to go back to the point of, you end up learning stuff very, very quickly, and it's not because you're cheating. We're not selling you a secret or anything like that. We're just showing you a different way to learn from, a different angle to start learning the guitar. And we've had some really great feedback on it, and people are learning the guitar from it. So it's really, really exciting. And obviously we just had the Kickstarter, and that's all ended now, and we put out our beta version of the System 12 guitar method, and now we're really excited because now we're about to do the next version of it, and yeah, we're all very excited about it now.
Yeah, and it is great. I've seen the testing version.
Mm-hmm.
Watched through the videos. I can already play most of what Ryan shows in the testing version, but I still watch the videos, and I think it's great. And I would have been really happy to start with power chords instead of open chords when I first learned guitar. I can tell you.
Doesn't it make so much sense?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense until, I guess, like, I know this sounds really obvious, but until someone's like, hey, what about this? Because a lot of rock songs actually don't have these big open C chords or anything like that. You play it on the 8th fret. There's just C power chord, and yeah, you can do so much with power chords and whatnot. So if you're interested, definitely check out System 12 and find us on Instagram, and we can tell you more about that.
Okay, so I think let's talk about your EP.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's your first solo EP, isn't it?
It is. Yep. It's my first EP of songs, and yeah, it's taken a long time, but it's finally out, and I'm screaming it from the rooftops. If you haven't noticed, I'm telling everyone about it.
Take a Smile, I think it was inspired by a guitar student of yours.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it really, really was. I had this is when I was like teaching in New Hampshire in the States, and I had a student came in one day and she had a piece of paper that said "Take a Smile" written on it. And you know, like when people are like, they put out those ads and they like staple them to street light posts that like want your lawn mowed, and you rip off the number at the bottom. Well, she had done this paper that said "Take a smile" and a smiley face, and then had all these cute little smiley faces that you could pull off on the bottom of the paper. And obviously I was like, oh my God, that's the cutest thing. She was like, I made this for you. And she's like 9 or whatever. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. So I brought it home and I stuck it on my fridge. And yeah, I think, you know, the words obviously inspired a song. The story of what happens in that song is, if anyone's wondering, is completely fictional. It's not a real story. It's not anything, you know. So the title of the song was inspired by the student, and then I sort of put a story to go along with the words.
Does the student know that she inspired the song?
I actually don't think she does. No. And I've thought about that as well. I was like, well, maybe I should try and reach out to her parents and sort of say, hey, like, they made this for me, and here's a song, you know. But yeah, she stopped taking lessons for a while after that. So yeah.
So why did you choose this song to be the single of the EP?
I think it's just the one. That's a really good question. I don't know, because I think it's because I liked the vibe it was giving off. I did quite a lot of testing these songs on a lot of friends and family, and sort of said, like, which is your favorite song? What song do you think you know, should be maybe a single? And it came back, you know, I did my market research and it came back that was the song everyone liked the most. And I was like, okay, well, that should probably be the first song. So it was actually just more of a sort of throw it out there and see what people came back and they listened to the demos and that was the one. I was like, yeah, that's probably the one I would have picked as well. So
yeah, it is a great song.
Thank you.
Are you going to do music videos for the other songs as well? Great
question. Well, yes, I am. And more about that to come in the next couple of weeks. So, yes. I think I'm going to do one more single off this EP. But to be honest, I'm just so ready now to just start the whole next project and do a whole new EP. And I think it's because, like, I've always wondered this, like, whenever I watch interviews with musicians, like, you get the album and you're so excited about this album, and you watch an interview and they're like, yeah, you know, I'm kind of done with that album now. I'm just sort of ready to do something else. And you're like, what are you talking about? It's only come out this week. Why aren't you excited about it anymore? And I'm definitely still excited about the EP, don't get me wrong. And I love, you know, playing it for people, and I love hearing about, you know, people when they've listened to it. But I've also heard these songs a lot now, and I've been writing a lot of other songs since then. And yeah, so I've learned a lot about creating music with this, and I'm like, oh, now I want to put those new ideas and the things that I did wrong with this EP, I want to make right with this next one. So yeah, but there is, to answer your question, yes, I'm going to do one more single. Yeah.
So are you already working on the new EP?
Well, I'm already writing songs, that's for sure. So I'm definitely writing new songs, and which of course are going to hopefully go towards something, but there's no date, there's no anything else involved right now. I'm just writing as much music as I can and writing as many riffs and recording as many of them on my iPhone as I possibly can.
So when we're all allowed to go outside again, are you going to do a solo tour with your own songs?
Well, I mean, of course, I would love to do a solo tour of my own songs, but I feel like in many ways I need to, you know, work the trenches a little bit more. And, you know, I would love to start playing with some other bands and start doing some more shows that way. I was meant to do I was meant to open for the Choir Boys when they were in Ottawa a few months ago, but obviously the pandemic hit and they flew back to the UK, so that show didn't end up happening, unfortunately. But I was really excited about that because it was going to be like, okay, this is my solo music, and this is me fronting my project. So I want to definitely look into touring with other musicians and artists and bands, if I can. And I want to do a lot of acoustic stuff as well, because that's a lot easier. when I only have to worry about me, I can just go out and do an acoustic show or an acoustic set somewhere. So I want to do a lot of that as well. So, but yes, when we're all eventually allowed to go back outside again, I am gonna play so much live music. I'm really excited.
Okay, so if people want to find out more about you, what's the best place to go?
Yeah, well, if you want to, you can go to robbymillerguitarist.com, which is my website, and I try and keep it as updated as possible. But I guess I'm probably most active on Instagram, which is at @RobbyRockMiller, and you can find my music page on Facebook, which is facebook.com/RobbyMillerGuitarist. So yeah, that's really the main things, the main platforms that I post on: my website, Instagram, and Facebook. So yeah, that's where I am most of the time.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for taking the time.
Thanks for having me on. This is a really great show, and you must be excited to do more of this and speak to more people.
Definitely, yes.
Awesome. Well,
Okay,
thank you, Lily.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
No worries. See you soon.
See you soon.